Hey everybody, it's Wednesday, and every Wednesday I like to rock out a little bit with some rock and roll, and as you can see there's an extra meme on there this morning for our friends across the pond and anybody that prefers tea instead of coffee. So let's see who I am saying good morning or good evening or good afternoon to today. Good morning to my hubby Ronin Wolf, who made it first in the chat this morning. A good afternoon to Alora Bones. A good morning to a Wikipedia snippet, and a Minty Fox, and a Viking sandwich wench. How are you guys doing this morning? As I'm scrolling down. Oh, hi Gaylark, how you doing, dear? Hey Mitch, glad you made it. Morning, Mitch. You can draw your own conclusions as to what kind of morning it is. Hey Jason, what's up, dude? Morning, Neilk. I saw an MC. I think I saw an MC. There's an MC. Good morning, MC. Good morning, Numbed Skull. And a Hellbound Iscariot. And a finer print this morning. Pull up a chair and your favorite morning brew. We're about to dive into this. Morning, Miss T. Ooh, first cup of... Oh, yep. Oh, man. Cup of Ambition. That brings back a song that I used to listen to when I was little and still listening to country music. Oh my god, 9 to 5. Working 9 to 5. Okay, so, Merlin isn't here this morning either because it's day 2 of his doctor checkups to make sure that the opioids aren't doing too much damage to his system. But he should be back and co-hosting the show with me tomorrow morning. And by then or the next day, he should have the results of his brain scan. I have been keeping in touch with him, making sure he's taking care of himself. So that is why he is not here this morning. So let's get into... You will notice that I rotated the wrenches again. I do that every now and again. The only people who do not have their wrenches permanently, rotated out are my patrons, who are Laura Bones and Fuckwad. Angel Zones, when she pops into the chat, will get a permanent wrench as well. Thraxy, because he's my lovable guard dragon of the internet. And my husband, because, well, hubby, I figured that's where you got it from, Miss T. So every morning I reset the wrenches, and whoever tends to pop into the chat first gets a wrench for the show. That's the way I'm doing the rotation. So let's see what we've got on the twatters today from the government. Let me see, we've got... public opinion is moving in the direction of this bill. Chief Research Officer for SurveyMonkey John Cohen tells The Times. More from the Washington Examiner on the recent tax bill reform. So it seems like more and more people are digging a little deeper into the tax reform, and they are liking what they see. Next one is one from the DOJ, which reads, Executive Officer Armored Vehicle Company sentenced to more than 5 years in prison for roll-in scheme to defraud the United States. I am going to click on that tweet because I would like to read a little bit more about that one. So we are going to click them there. And click them there. And do that. And hit the news thing. That way you guys can see it. And, oop, that's the wrong news thing. And there's a blooper of the morning. There we go. Justice News. I love how they call it Justice News. Make it a little bit bigger so you guys can see it. So it can fit in the window. Because it needs to fit in the window. There we are. Alright, so. I know where to scroll up. Yay! Chief Executive Officer of Armored Vehicle Company sentenced to more than 5 years in prison for roll-in scheme to defraud the United States. The owner and Chief Executive Officer of an armored vehicle company was sentenced today to 70 months in prison for his role in orchestrating a scheme to defraud the United States by providing the U.S. Department of Defense with armored gun trucks that did not meet ballistic and blast protection requirements set out in the company's contracts with the United States. Acting Assistant Attorney General John P. Cronin of the Justice Department's Criminal Division, U.S. Attorney Rick A. Mountcastle from the Western District of Virginia, Special Agent in Charge Adam S. Lee of FBI's Richmond, Virginia, Field Office, and Special Agent in Charge Robert E. Craig, Jr. of the Defense Criminal Investigative Service, Mid-Atlantic Field Office made the announcements. A lot of people announcing things. William White, 72, of King City, Ontario, the owner and CEO of Armored Vehicles of Danville, Virginia, was sentenced by U.S. District Judge Jackson L. Kaiser of the Western District of Virginia, who was also ordered White to serve 3 years of supervised release following his sentence and to pay the restitution in the amount of $2,019,454.36. On October 9th, 2017, after a 2-week trial, White was found guilty of 3 counts of major fraud against the United States, 3 counts of wire fraud, and 3 counts of criminal false claims. White was charged by an indictment in July 2012. Evidence at trial demonstrated that White executed a scheme to defraud the United States by proving armored gun trucks that were deliberately under-armored. Armit contracted to provide armored gun trucks for use by the United States and its allies as part of the efforts to rebuild Iraq in 2005. Despite providing armored gun trucks that did not meet contractual specifications, White and his employees represented that the armored gun trucks were adequately armored in accordance with the contract, the evidence showed. Armit was paid over $2 million over the course of the scheme, the evidence also showed. The case was investigated by the FBI and DCIS. The case is being prosecuted by trial attorney Caitlin Cottingham of the Criminal Division's Fraud Section and Assistant U.S. Attorney Heather Carlton of the Western District of Virginia. I think that 36 cents is going to be a killer. Morning, Michaela, otherwise known as our own Eris in the Discord. How are you doing this morning? Oh, nope. You got to be the first one in the chat. That's the way it works. That's how I keep it fair. So, let me see here. Boop, boop. And we're going to come up here. And what you're seeing is the U.S. Military Academy. One of USMA's priorities is to develop leaders of character who are committed to the values of duty, honor, and country. Peter Wang, which was one of the students that died on February 14th, are an example of those principles, and the Academy honors his dream of being a West Point cadet with a 2025 letter of acceptance. He is one of 3 JROTC students that have been posthumously awarded Medals of Bravery by the military for helping save other students during that shooting in Florida. And I think that is a really cool move, right? Let me see here. And we've got one really cool thing. What's it like inside a howitzer? Take a look at hashtag soldiers from the Fighting First training at a Paladin Leaders course in Grafenwehr, Germany. Grafenwehr, Germany. I can't pronounce that, so hashtag you're up strong. So it is a 12-second video on what it looks like to be inside a howitzer. And all those tweet links are down at the bottom if you guys want to follow any one of those links to read up on anything or watch that 12-second video, because the inside of a howitzer looks pretty freaking cool, guys. I'm telling you. Alright, so let's see here. Now we move on to the thing that everybody comes for besides the dog. Let me see. I wonder if there should be a live shoot regarding the topics of guns in schools. I don't know. I think live shoot may not necessarily be the best choice in words. Morning Dade. I think Trump just fucked up the midterms. He might have. Let's see. As always, we start out with the weather to see who's freezing where and who's warming up where. So, the weather for February 21st. Cold temperatures across the west and warm across the east with a continuing active wet pattern across the central U.S. Excessive rain and a real flooding will continue from portions of the southern plains to the Great Lakes region as warm Gulf moisture lifts northward along a slow-moving frontal boundary. Hope you guys know how to swim. Cold air behind the front will allow for snow, so you guys, or a possible wintry mix, freezing rain. Be careful on those roads if you have to drive anywhere. Numerous weather winter advisories are in effect from central Texas to Illinois. Minor flooding is being observed across western portions of the Tennessee and mid-Mississippi valleys. Several locations across lower Great Lakes / western Ohio Valley have already have already have minor to moderate flooding. Any additional rainfall will likely exacerbate the situation. Temperatures across much of the eastern seaboard will be above to well above normal for late February. Widespread highs in the 70s with some lower 80s are expected, and this has potential to set record highs. These late spring-like temperatures will be short-lived. The strong front over central U.S. will finally cross the central and northern Appalachians, and cold air will spill into the northeast and mid-Atlantic regions by the end of the week. Upper-level energy will move southward toward the Pacific Northwest. Will spread snow from the coast inland and south to northern California. Much of the west will have temperatures warmer than seasonal average. Let me see here. The filter's not functional. All right, next one is, oh boy, this thing isn't fitting, is it? Yep, sort of. All right, we're going to zoom out a smidgen. So over here is the freezing rain mix, as you can see, sweeping from Texas around and through the states here. We've got flash flooding warnings for this particular section of the United States over here. Snow is in the white little dotted lines, and we've got high pressures coming in from here, and high and low pressures mixing in down here and around over here, which isn't looking too great. And then we've got rain all along here, and rain and thunderstorms that I have to watch out for over here and in Alabama and in southern parts of Mississippi. So yeah, I'm still looking for a boat because it's raining on and off like nuts over here. And this is the weather forecast for temperature. So we're looking at warm from the northeast down to the southeast tip of Florida and along the southern eastern way of Texas. And it gradually gets colder as we're moving to the northwest, with temperatures up around Montana and all those places up there, going into the I'm not going outside because it's too freaking cold. Temperatures, clicking over here. We've got Bismarck, North Dakota, and Pierre with temperatures of 18 and 17 respectively up there. Down here in Georgia, it clicked over to Mississippi. In Arkansas, we've got 46 degrees. We've got 79 in Louisiana, 81 in Jackson. So we've got, different types of temperatures depending on where you are in the country. So there is your amateur weather report for the morning. Still trying this out, still trying to, get used to all this. So now we have the news. So let me pop this in there. Yeah, scroll all the way down. Let me see. Gotta get the right one up. There we are. And here's the story that many of you probably came for. Trump calls for ban on bump stocks. And there goes Evernote being a prick. That is not anything new. All right, here we go. Gotta scroll all the way up. All right, President Trump put pen to paper February 20th by signing a memorandum that pushed for the Department of Justice to put forth regulations to ban all devices such as the bump stocks used in the Los Angeles shooting. Under pressure from the Florida high school shooting, Trump had this to say: "We must move past cliches and tired debates and focus on evidence-based solutions and security measures that actually work." The president is going to meet with teachers and students along with state and local officials to talk about how to make schools safer and discuss gun violence. Trump has stated he is behind strengthening federal background checks. There's a tweet from around 13 hours ago now, I think. The White House stated Trump met with Senator John Cornyn, a Republican from Texas, in regards to a bill written with the intent to reinforce the FBI database of people who cannot purchase firearms. Sarah Huckabee Sanders stressed that talks about background checks and gun control continue and, quote, revisions are being considered, unquote. But on the other hand, said the president is supportive of efforts to improve the federal background check system. Though many would say Trump signed a resolution which blocked an Obama-era rule authored to keep firearms out of the hands of the mentally ill. Again, he did not block this rule. I got to rewrite that before I stick it on the blog. This rule was never passed. The law that was passed did not change who is subject to a background check. Though they are making efforts to tighten measures, there are those like Kirsten Brown that say more needs to be done. She is the co-president of the Brady Campaign to Prevent Gun Violence. And she has stated the measures are a start, but do nothing to close loopholes regarding online purchases or purchases at gun shows. We need a comprehensive system, she was quoted as saying. One of these isn't enough. So that is the headline news story for the morning. Let me see. A bump stock is an attachment that allows a semi-automatic rifle to mimic a fully automatic weapon's cyclic firing rate to mimic nearly continuous automatic fire. Yep. I learned all about that on another live stream, Dade. Numbed Skull. Bump stock is a piece on the gun that works like a belt loop. Neil, interesting. You can bump fire without a bump stock. It's just harder. Yes, it is. Dade, you can ban them all you want, but it won't change anything. No, it won't. Jason Brazeal, there is no gun show loophole. I figured if I left that in there, one of you guys would catch that. They still have to do background checks at gun shows, if I remember correctly. Let me see. Kristen Brown is the Tipper Gore of the modern age, a troublemaker. Well, yeah, well, she's going to be in the news as long as this doesn't, fade into the ether. Numbed Skull, also, bump stocks were only involved in one mass shooting. Correct! And it would be the one in Las Vegas. At least that is the only one in which bump stocks were reported to have been used, to be a little more accurate. I've got to look into the other stories. Dade Murphy, blame Canada with all their beady little eyes and flapping heads full of lies. Let me see. Let me see. What's this opinion on gun control? He is barking mad. He's over there trying to, keep himself entertained. Viking Sandwich Winch. We need to address people with mental issues. We need to protect our schools just like we do our courthouses and airplanes, etc. I agree. I completely agree. We really need armed guards at our schools. We need metal detectors at our schools. And we also need to train teachers and certify them in gun use as well, to better protect our students. But, as always, there will be people that have a problem with that particular way of thinking. And, you always can't get around that. Dade, if we could only like all our privates, we'd be a little more mellow. Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. Let me see. She told me. Let me see. We've got how many people watching right now? I'm going to bring that up in a minute. It's taking a minute. All right. So next story. On to the Brexit saga, shall we? Blip, blip. Blop, blop. Yep. Sound effects included, yo. Low budget show, but the sound effects are key, man. Sound effects are key. A leaked document shows the UK still demanding a 2-year transition period and also states, quote, the UK believes the period's duration should be determined simply by how long it will take to prepare and implement the new processes and new systems that will underpin the future partnership, unquote. The problem here is the EU wants the transition to end no later than the 31st of December 2020, which is shortly after Brexit in March 2019. 21 months, not the 24 the UK is asking for. The document goes on to say the UK agrees this points to a period of around 2 years, but wishes to discuss with the EU the assessment that supports the proposed end date. The UK also would like a way to object to new European legislation while the transition is being implemented. The Prime Minister recommended EU nationals who come to the UK during the transition period should maintain. We should not maintain. I forgot the not. Half asleep. My editor's at the doctor. Should not maintain the right to settle permanently in the UK. Let me see who disagrees. Dade L. Murphy. I disagree. A school being armed with anything or X amount of security isn't the solution. It's parents being responsible and kids not being spoiled little shitheads. Well, I would agree that that's part of the problem too. The other problem is not having enough systems in place where people take seriously the claims and complaints of other students about certain students having behavioral issues, having violent outbursts, constantly getting into fights, because all these can be warning signs that you have a troubled child on your hand that could lead to a more serious situation in the future. Let me see here. During the Brexit, the EU's demands are as follows. The transition should be from Brexit March 29th to the 31st of December 2020. The UK will be subject to all EU rules and regulations during the transition phase. No cherry picking in regards to single market moving freely into the UK. Let me see. International agreements cannot be put in place without the EU agreeing to it, and negotiations should continue finding a solution to the border question in regards to Northern Ireland, a main sticking point. Tories have demanded a clean break from the EU, and also UK must guarantee it can change its laws without EU authorization when it leaves March 2019. UK must have the freedom to start its own trade negotiations during the transition. UK is urged to resist the EU's attempts to set the timetable. The UK should negotiate as an equal partner. Let me scroll this up so you guys can see this. Ministers may not want or be able to accept the EU's timing and mandates as fixed, and should be able to set out alternative terms, including, for example, building an agreement based on World Trade Organization membership instead. The above demands are from a letter which was signed by 62 MPs, including a former Conservative Party leader and many ex-ministers. So that's going on with Brexit. Neil, there is a lot of fundamental issues that cause these school shootings that go all the way back to home life. A lot of stuff to fix. Yes, there is a lot of stuff to fix. One of the main problems because of the current economy is you cannot go back to a one-income household anymore. Gone are the days of a one-income household where one parent could stay home and still manage bills without struggling. And that was, the parents to me are no longer as active as they should be in their child's lives, helping them with homework, helping them, participate in extracurricular activities, sitting down and talking to them, things of that nature. I don't think parents are as involved in their children's lives as mine were when I was growing up anymore. And I think that's part of the problem. Children need guidance. Children need parents to set what a moral compass is, to set what limits are, to constantly reinforce what is right and wrong. Parents need to be there to be parents, not friends, not best friends, not people to hang out with, but parents. And sometimes parents tend to lose focus of that and become more of a friend and less than a parent. Dade L. Murphy, anything world related is a problem. We cannot be part of a world anything. I agree, Dade. Neil, it's funny when the workforce increased in size by 2, suddenly the wages were about half, and you now need both parents working instead of one. Makes you wonder. Yes, it does make you wonder. It makes you wonder. I completely agree with that. All right, and here we go. The last story of the morning. TPP, yeah, you know me. Miss T, it doesn't matter. The environment can cause even a good child whose parents are active in their lives to turn bad. That is true. That is true. There are exceptions to every rule. MC, that's because they are selfish and don't want to be the bad guy. There are a lot of parents out there that want to be best friends and not bad guys. And you have to be a bad guy from time to time being a parent. Being a parent is not an easy job, but it is a job. It is a full-time job that doesn't pay, and the benefits sometimes can be really rewarding. Ooh, there's 19 people watching. Thank you, 19 people watching, and the one person on Twitch. How are you doing this morning? All right. TPP deal has a final version without the U.S. The Trans-Pacific Partnership has reached its final draft. This deal, which seeks to cut trade barriers in some of the Asia-Pacific's rapidly growing economies, was released Wednesday, meaning it's getting closer to being put in place without the United States, its star member. There have been more than 20 provisions, let me scroll up, which saw changes or were suspended ahead of its signing in March, some provisions on the list being from Washington. This 12-member deal was put into a holding pattern when President Trump withdrew, stating the TPP was not a good deal for the U.S. The 11 nations that remain have renamed it the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership, CPTPP, because keeping names short just isn't in anybody's idea, I guess, no matter what government you're in. And the signing is expected to happen March 8th, 2018 in Chile. Let me enter so we can pop this up here a little bit. The deal would have reduced tariffs in countries with an excess of 13% of the global GDP, which totals $10 trillion. Had the United States not withdrawn, it would have 40% representation. In other words, we would have received the reduced tariffs. Of the provisions suspended, one of them was in regards to pharmaceuticals. Many of the changes were due to U.S. negotiators and were in the original TPP. The concern was the possibility of pharmaceutical prices rising. The positive outlook of the revised deal has been talked about by Japanese officials and other member countries, with hopes that Washington will reconsider and be a part of the agreement once again. The remaining members of the TPP are Australia, Brunei, Canada, Chile, Japan, Malaysia, Mexico, New Zealand, Peru, Singapore, and Vietnam. Neil, TPP just sounds like they added child exploitation TPP. How do they make their acronyms worse like that? They don't think about it when they start adding letters. Dade Murphy. Now if we can trash NAFTA. I think they're trying to renegotiate NAFTA. MC. No, he would have to reduce tariffs while the rest would have higher tariffs all the time. Yep, exactly. I completely agree with that. Because ours would have to be reduced because we would have 40% of the global GDP. Which doesn't make it fair to us, but, that's why he said it was a bad deal, and that's why Trump withdrew. Because much to the chagrin of a lot of people, mainly people on the left, that wanted the TPP, alphabet soup, exactly, Wikipedia. It's the TPP. Trump wants to put us first, and in order to do that, he's got to either renegotiate deals or back out of deals before they become finalized. And, we need to be in a healthier place as a government, and we're not there yet. And one of the ways to do that is to either renegotiate deals or step out of deals that look like they're going to be bad for us in the short term or the long run, or a combination of both. You can't continue to make shitty trade deals and expect the country to remain prosperous on a global stage. Viking Sandwich Wench. We have tons of money from the collection of taxes. I think our kids come before giving money to other countries and giving money to illegals. I agree. Miss T, we need to get a better handle on kids. High school is nothing like how it was when we were kids. No, it's not, Miss T. I agree. Heck, it's even worse than it was when my oldest was in high school 4 years ago. Viking Wench. I don't want to hear any crap about not having enough money in our budget to take care of the things we should be taking care of. Me either. I would like them to open the books on these education accounts, both state, local, and federal. I want to see where all the tax money for the schools is going and how it's being spent. Because obviously, it's not going to teachers. It's not going to making schools safer. It's going somewhere, and they're not showing us or telling us where this money for education is going. I want them to open the books. I want to see where this education money is going. I want to see it. Show me the money. I want to see the paper trail. I want to see what they're spending this money on. Because I have a funny feeling they're spending this money on raises for superintendents and other higher officials that have nothing to do with directly involving, them with students. I mean, if you're not at the school level, if you're not teaching these children, if you're not interacting with these children on a daily basis, then to me, you shouldn't be getting any raises as a superintendent. The teachers should be getting the raises, and those raises should be based on performance, on pass-fail. Make these teachers work for their money. Take these raises from these superintendents and give them to the teachers that are actually making a difference in students' lives. Dave Murphy, and you know why? Because Gen X parents are whiners who allow baby boomer grandparents to spoil their kids and have no power to parent, which is why kids are brats. That's one. Hey, Penina, how are you? Depends on where you live. Where I am, local and state tend to go to sports stuff. Here in Georgia, it is not, at least in the Atlanta area, Clayton and Fulton County areas, as well as Fayette County, it's nothing to see kids standing on the side of the road trying to raise funds for school uniforms, for extracurricular activities, and for sports. And you heard that, hellbound. Plus, we have numerous schools that are failing. I agree. Jason, does anyone know their neighbors anymore? No, I don't think so. How can kids learn empathy toward other people if they don't even know the people living near them? I think we need to set up block parties nationwide. We need to go back to the old neighborhood system that we hated when we were kids, but the parents loved it. The little birdie system, where one kid couldn't do anything without the parents finding out by the time they got home. We need to go back to that. We need to go back to grassroots. We need to go back to the, the days where you couldn't do anything without your parents finding out from a little birdie. MC, high school should never have tenure, and like it or not, we don't need consolidation. We need more schools and reduce school sizes. We do. We need a better student-to-teacher ratio. Dade Murphy. Furthermore, we need beat cops. See, there's so many things that we come up with on live streams, so many ideas that we bounce back and forth on these live streams that, they make good ideas. They're solid ideas, and we feel they should be implemented. But the problem is, the government always gets in the way, and no matter how good an idea is, hey, Evil Gunny, how you doing this morning? No matter how good we have an idea to improve things, when the government steps in, you have a bull crap in triplicate and them stepping in the way and impeding the process every step of the way. Dade Murphy, where there was one beat cop walked a block and everybody knew everyone and response times were faster and better. Yes, I agree. In England, it seems to be the baby boomer grandparents who give the kids more discipline. Oh, wait a minute. I gotta scroll that. In the working class areas anyway. Yeah, probably. MWM Media. The U.S. spends more on education than Russia, China, UK spend on defense every year. Yeah, I don't doubt that. But I don't know where the money's going because it's not going to the teachers. It's not going to improve the education system as a whole. I think it's going into superintendent pockets. And like I said, I want to see those books opened. I want to see where that money's going. Show me the money. Oh, let me see here. Minty. There's no way I want to be a teacher, maybe a substitute, but that's about it. Jason. Less experienced teachers should go to well-funded schools and more experienced teachers to low-income areas. That's a good idea. I kind of like that concept. And I agree. Evil Gunny. Keep repeating what you're saying in all caps until your statement is... No, he does that. Dade, he does that because he has bad eyesight, and so he can read what he read. So he's not all caps raging in the live chat. He just has very bad vision and has to type in all caps. Okay, so let me set up for the next segment. I was being a shit. Neil, in my humble opinion, curriculum need only to be universal for the minimum standard, and teachers need to be allowed to teach again. See, some people argue with me about this, and some people agree with me on this. Students upon entering a school should be given a basic proficiency test, and they should be placed in classes depending on how they learn. In other words, if they're below average learners, if they're average learners, if they're above average learners, they should be put in classes suiting their learning style and their learning aptitude. You can't expect low, average, and high learning individuals all in one classroom to learn at the same rate, because you have the people that would be considered gifted being given things like Adderall, because they're labeled with ADD because they get bored in classes. You get people that are below average learning capabilities being put in learning disability classes because they're not put in a class with other people that learn at the same speed they do, and so they get the stigma of, being a slow learner. People in average learning capacities need to be put in their own classroom because they learn at a rate that is expected. Not above or below, but expected. And all these should be in different classrooms and not all amalgam together in one. But then again, in this day and age, with this political climate, there'd be a lot of pushback on that particular organization of classrooms because that would be, quote-unquote, stigmatizing the children. Let me see. Oh, I thought he didn't like me. Methodology, exactly, Neil. I hacked up that lung. I'm better now. Okay, now for the next segment. I hope.
I am Cornholio. I need TP for my bunghole.
Alright, so now we have the video recommendations of the morning. First one being our own lovable Logicked, who takes on somebody who completely misreads Genesis chapter 1. You want to hear me die on air? No, it's ear rape. I can't do that to you guys. I really can't. Proving New Age woo by rewriting Genesis Chapter 1, Johann Oldenkamp Part 2. Yep, it is a series that he's doing. I listened to this one this morning, and he's a pretty cool guy. I love his content. His content is solid, and it's consistent. Oh, I'm getting to that, Penina. I'm getting to that. So don't miss that. Second one is Morally Gray, MR. MTV says, even the gays are racist. Yes, Morally Gray is taking on Decoded, where he goes into their sources first and then completely argues the bull crap they're trying to push. Really good video. Good afternoon, Tailed. How are you doing today? Third one is Semaj Z. Learnt something new. He's talking about how he has learned how to use, a couple of more new things to the art app that he uses for all of his really cool thumbnails and fan art and stuff. It's only a minute and 27 seconds long, but it is a really cool video. Check that out. And for the featured one of the morning that cracked me the hell up, here we go. I'm going to play you a little bit of it. Okay, hang on. Let me make sure I've got this turned on so you can hear it. And I don't. Okay.
I see your retweets and I want it to be blocked. No one votes anymore, I want to use a bot.
Yep. Celestial, Parsnip, and the Finer Print teamed up to do this. A parody on I Want It Painted Black, or Paint It Black, from the Rolling Stones. Yep. This is funny. You guys have got to see this. Hey, Malachite, how you doing this morning? Yeah, I know. Unmute you, dits. Yeah, I'm going to be looking for the blonde in my hair in a minute, because every time I mute myself, I forget to unmute myself. It's hilarious. There's got to be sound now. I'll give it a couple of seconds. But yeah, this video is absolutely freaking hilarious. Let me see if I can do a little bit more of this. So, yeah, that time you didn't get to hear it because I did that on purpose. That way you can see the subtitles. But you have got to listen to this thing. It's absolutely fucking hilarious. And that is the last recommended video of the day. Oh shit, what happened to the... Oh. I lost the cancer! Phew, I gotta find the cancer. Hold on. Nope, not that one. Oh, here we go. I have the cancer. You guys can't see it yet, even though you saw it already, because I blooper all over the place. Alright, here we go.
I don't know. I'm making this up as I go.
Okay, just in case you guys are wondering, this is a Guardian article. Black Panther proves the best villains are those who could have been heroes. I lost Penina. No, she's around somewhere. She's probably listening at work. Miss T, I don't mean to brag, but I got blocked by him as soon as I joined Twitter. And I said I respectively disagree. Children need to be taught about feminism. Oh God, no! Oh God, yes, it's the Guardian. Let me see if my voice is... Let me get some water. Drinking some water. We never lose Penina. She floats around. Okay. Black Panther proves the best villains are those who could have been heroes. Like Terminator and Darth Vader, Eric Killmonger's evil is all the more compelling when we find out the wrong turn he has taken. When Empire magazine published its list of all-time top 50 villains in cinema in 2016, there was no place for any of the Marvel Cinematic Universe's many baddies. In fact, only a single comic book villain, Heath Ledger's Joker from 2008's The Dark Knight, made the cut. The MCU has had its moments when it comes to charismatic exponents of evil. Tom Hiddleston's heartbroken, yet icily evil Loki in Kenneth Branagh's Thor, and Cate Blanchett's slinky but ruthless Hela in its sequel Thor Ragnarok spring to mind, but it would probably be fair to say there have been as many misses as hits along the way. One of the most heartening aspects of the Black Panther's success has been the way it bucks this trend. Michael B. Jordan's Eric Killmonger is the first villain since Loki to steal the movie away from a Marvel title character. It is in the persona of Killmonger, rather than that of Chadwick Boseman's T'Challa Black Panther, that righteous anger against colonialism and the ongoing mistreatment of people of African origin around the world is embodied. That he is the villain of the piece does not matter one bit. We understand his justified rage, and we understand equally why the violent course of action he takes in an effort to restore justice is misguided. Victim of circumstance. The Guardian, the short bus of articles. Love you, Dade. If we look at some of the greatest baddies in comic book history, it's notable that many of the best of them had understandable, at least on some level, motivations for their actions. Loki's jealous of Odin's love for Thor, and knows he will never stand as tall in the Asgardian pantheon because he is an adopted frost giant rather than a true-born native of the planet. Alfred Molina's Dr. Octopus in Spider-Man 2 is driven mad by the death of his beloved wife in an experiment. Not really, you misunderstood that. Michael Keaton's Vulture in the more recent Spider-Man Homecoming holds a legitimate grudge against the unfettered latitude granted to the world's superheroes. Not all villains require complex backstories to explain their actions, of course. Darth Vader was fascinating, even when we knew him only as featureless, shiny, black death cyborg in the original trilogy, before all the emo-esque inner turmoil that led to his fall had been exposed. But Vader is arguably one of a kind, the otherworldly blend of Nazi and samurai regalia that make up the remarkable costume worn by Dave Prowse in the original Star Wars films, as well as James Earl Jones's ability to produce tones of velvet dread, created a monster the like of which never had been seen before. Miss T facepalmed so hard she knocks herself out. Of course, by the time the original saga comes to a close in The Return of the Jedi in 1983, we've seen all we need to see of the rampaging Sith Lord's essential humanity in those final death scenes with his son Luke Skywalker. The journey with his son... Oh, where'd I go? The journey from his faceless fascist to selfless redeemed hero is complete. Likewise, Arnold Schwarzenegger's Terminator is fascinating for his merciless determination to kill in James Cameron's original 1984 entry, but even more interesting once we realize that the same model is capable of experiencing human-like emotions in the 1991 sequel T2 Judgment Day. In the absence of costume departments capable of sci-fi alchemy and performers of a iconoclastic and if unwieldy charisma such as Schwarzenegger, Jordan's Killmonger looks like an excellent model for Marvel to borrow from in the future. Perhaps Kevin Feige and his team could go one step further and make the MCU's next great villain a fallen superhero. Not if it's not in the comic books, they won't. Captain America Civil War almost achieved this by shoehorning Robert Downey Jr.'s Tony Stark Iron Man into the temporary role of bad guy. Perhaps the tables might be turned with a future episode, seeing Chris Evans' ultimate goody-two-shoes Steve Rogers taking on a nefarious role. It would be a risky maneuver, and one that would have to toy manufacturers spluttering with rage, but Black Panther has taught us that the best comic book villains are those who might easily have been the hero of the piece, if only they had made slightly different choices somewhere along the way. Gaylord Bearson. Frankenstein's monster was more of a tragic being. Vader did all he did to himself. This writer is stupid. Yeah. This writer is not taking into account any of the canon that has... Yeah, I've heard worse too. It's not taking account any of the canon that is inherent in the comic books. It's apparent she doesn't read hasn't picked up a single frickin' comic book by the way she wrote that article. Because if she did, then she wouldn't be saying what she said. You know, if in a comic book there is a villain that turns hero, or vice versa, then I'm sure they'll get around to that sooner or later. But if it isn't in the canon, could you imagine the multitudes of comic book fans that would absolutely be pissed off if Spider-Man turned evil? And I don't mean the Venom thing. I mean truly evil and stayed that way. There was an absolute backlash of immense proportions when a comic book story arc had Chasing Amy classic. When a comic book story arc actually had Captain America as an agent of Hydra. You know, a double agent. When that cover came out, people were beside themselves with rage. How dare they turn an American classic icon into a villain? How could they do that? The rage was absolutely endless. So if you are going to do something like that and make it comic book canon, you have to do it carefully. Very, very carefully. Lopez. Alright, now for the live stream announcements. And there are many, and the list grows. Alright, let me see here. Scrolling up. 9 o'clock this morning, I tweeted out Numbed Skull's great debate. Already playing cartoons as Tonka Saw on the Kumite. Watch out at 2 p.m. because sometimes Wren does it and sometimes it doesn't. But I am going to be touting out her Wrenilations at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Ghost Poo Podcast is at, is on Irate Bear's channel today at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time because Drunkle cannot stream. He still has that non-streaming strike. Grab pizza and beer and head on over to Hellcats at 8 on Jason Brazeal's channel. At 8:30 instead of 8 o'clock like the listing says, I and Lou are going to try not to starve with PeninaChan again tonight. And that'll be both on Twitch and YouTube on her channels and mine as well. So please watch out for that. And it was fun last time. We're planning on having some fun this time too. At 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you have Lords of the Night. Ranting Monkey's hosting that. And at 11:30, after the Lords of the Night says good night, Minions of the Zoo is having their night stream. And so those are the announcements for the live streams for this evening. And this afternoon. Hellbound, I've heard outrage regarding America Chavez. I haven't heard of America Chavez. I am so out of the loop with comic books, it's absolutely horrendous at this point. Jason, we've had to accept replacement heroes for Marvels for years now, but there's hope coming. Marvel is bringing back the characters we love. Oh, good. No beer here. Kids are still running wild at the town. Grandpa and Grandma love Monkey. Yep, Grandma and Grandpa Monkey. Exactly, Grandma and Grandpa Monkey. And I may catch... Well, I can't catch a little bit of that because I'll be trying not to starve with Penina. There are many ways to support this channel. One is the Streamlabs link. Morning Raging Heavens. You can also go into the description and click on my website and become a patron. If you would like to see a particular news article or political current event or news event reported on the show, the website also has a forum where you can submit news stories for me to look into, research, and report on a future show. So please look out for that. After I move, I am planning on making content for the health portion of my website, and I am going to look into trying to figure out how to make a web page for monthly PayPal descriptions if you want to go through PayPal instead of Patreon. And I am going to be looking into maker support and see how that works. And if I get that link running, I will tout that out as well. So that is me shilling. Hellbound. America Chavez is a Latina from another dimension where two lesbian couples can have kids biologically in place of a surrogate. That's weird. That's just weird. Yeah, it doesn't make any logical sense at all. So, as usual, my friends, may your coffee ever flow, may your caffeine be ever strong, and may you have a wonderful and wacky Wednesday. Take care, my coffee nuts. See you next time, or see you in Discord, whichever one comes first.